congratulations on commissioning. I mean, you and the family just looked absolutely stunning up there. But can you walk me through what was going through your mind when you were taking that oath, getting pinned, and you did that silver dollar salute? What was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest thing for me was it was just such a surreal moment because, like you stated, and I think we'll get into it a little bit later, it wasn't supposed to happen. At the end of the day, I was going to walk away, and this came 9 months later or 10 months later. But, it finally came. It was a moment that I had worked so hard for and thought was going to get stripped away. And just going through that and having my daughter pin me, and that was just an absolute greatest time and greatest photo ever. I think she stole the show more than I did, but it was just a great experience. It was just a surreal moment for me and my family to get to go through that, and even with whoever I did it with. So it was great.
You were supposed to graduate in 2022 with me and the rest of our class. You were supposed to, well, you did graduate. I'm sorry. Let me use the right terminology here. You were supposed to commission. You graduated. You were supposed to commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Army in 2022. That didn't happen. Jonah, what happened?
So I know you and everybody else in the class knows me and knows my story in and out. But essentially, if you don't know what shocked the world in 2020, which was COVID, it was a big deal for everybody, right? And that just led to some circumstantial things and other mandates and stuff like that came down the pipeline and just allowed certain people to, move on or remain stagnant in where they are. And what it came down to was I had a religious exemption in to not take the vaccination. And from the get-go, essentially, and that just delayed my entire process. So going through, and they brought down the mandate for accessions and new people trying to enlist in the military, and it was this whole big thing. And it just came down to if you didn't have it, you couldn't commission. So while I was waiting on my exemption to process through, which still never actually fully adjudicated, it was still stuck before, now I'm commissioned and everything. But that was basically part of the process, just that religious exemption being in and not processing. So I wasn't able to commission. So I sat back and watched the class commission. Just didn't feel very good, but there was a plan.
Man. And I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell. You cheered us on. You were in our corner. You were very celebratory during those moments. You helped us out in any way, shape, or form. I mean, you're just a stand-up guy and just going through everything that you were going through along with your family, because it's not just you, it's Maya, it's Lindsay. And, I honor you all for your commitment, your dedication, your faith. Did you receive any backlash for your decision?
Initially, it probably wasn't. And I would say that if I was in a regular Army unit, I would have received a whole lot more backlash than what I did. And that is just want to highlight one of the better things about being separated from the mainstream military, because we were, in a way, like away from, the op tempo and the actual, commands and stuff like that. And that gives us the ability to kind of like, be more free. But no, I mean, some of the cadre kind of said they had their opinions, like why I was making a certain decision and I'm setting my family up for failure and all those other things like that. But all I tried to do essentially was, hey, like, you're not me. And this is a decision that I'm making that I've talked to my family about. And at the end of the day, what they didn't understand most was I was trusting in God through the process. And that was a decision that I had made under his guidance and leadership, not my own. So I was standing on that more than anything else.
Yeah. I like to think that everything happens for a reason, and there's always something to learn in every season of our lives. So are there any lessons learned from that?
Oh, for me, I would say patience. Now, I'm still not very good when it comes to patience, but in terms of this process and how this played out, and the terms of my life cycle and how that's actually going to be, I learned a lot about myself as well in the process. What my convictions are, what I'm willing to stand on, and what hill I'm willing to die on, and stuff like that. Just brought us together more as a family and stuff like that. But just going back to the patience and trusting in God throughout the process, because there's things that happened back in last fall that if I wasn't here, they wouldn't have happened. There's something else that happened after commissioning, and we can get into if you wanted to later or another time, but that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't here. So there's essentially a lot of these stepping stones happen that would never have happened if I wasn't here. So, like you said, there's a I also believe everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. And speaking of waiting, what did that waiting period look like for you? Because the Army agreed to send you to school for 2 years.
Hmm.
What did that look like? Because you kind of breached that contract, if you will. So what did that look like? Were you a cadet? Did you go back to being a sergeant? Did you just get to stay at home? Did you go to Fort Lee and work? Like, what did that period look like? Because I don't know, somebody might be in that same situation or a similar situation, maybe not the same situation, but a similar situation where you kind of go over that agreed upon 2 years that the Army sends you to school. So what did that look like for you?
Right. So there was also someone else that went through a similar situation. So there's multiple ways that you can technically extend that 2 years if it comes down to it, which is like for anything medical or anything like this. So this was the first time I think in military history where ROTC cadets or green to golds actually stayed past the 2 years for this type of issue. So yeah, I waited. I kind of took the summer off in a way. I kind of still had to have accountability, like you would in a regular command or a regular unit. But the working schedule was kind of just, hey, as you are needed this summer, come in, spend some time with the family and stuff like that. But once the semester started ramping back up in August, that's when the work started again. So to answer your question about was I a cadet or a sergeant or whatever, I essentially stayed a cadet the entire time. So I still wore the same rank on my uniform. I still participated in the labs, just in a different capacity. So what they like to say is a term like, we're called MS5s if we stay past our senior year, whether you're contracted as a regular cadet or you're a green to gold that ends up staying, you're essentially an MS5. So you're that like fifth year who has the experience. You've been through everything. So you're not going through any of the same things you've already went through, but you're just available as like a coach and a mentor and stuff like that. But for me, I kind of was also treated like cadre without having the official title of cadre. So I helped in all the admin stuff that all the cadre needed, and they put tasks on me just to help ease their workload and stuff like that. So I was able to help them out and still continue to coach and mentor the cadets, from freshman all the way through senior throughout this entire process. So that's actually been rewarding for me just to be able to continue to help and mentor them throughout the same process.